Welcome everyone. Thanks for spending your Tuesday evening with us. I'm Jay Smith. This is Bradley Kendall, Austin Querubin, and this is After Further Review, Tiger Vision's college football rundown show. We got a little bit of a different setup tonight. Yeah. Austin's involved with the Clemson football team. He's a student trainer. So let's dive right into it, Bradley, After Further Review.
We got more Clemson football to talk about, even though I got the baseball jersey on. Shout out to the Clemson Tigers going 8-0 now with a 9-8 win, but can never take a break from football.
Got another big win at home this afternoon. But yeah, Austin, we really appreciate you taking the time to come on. We know you got a busy schedule. You just said that you've wrapped up mat drills.
Correct.
A little bit of sleep deprivation, but we'll try and keep you entertained as possible, keep you awake for these next half hour.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So first, I think we want to talk about how long you've been involved with Clemson football as a student trainer. This is a position that you've held since you were a freshman?
Yeah, since I was a freshman. I applied the summer before my freshman year, and I'm currently finishing up my third year, and I'll have one more after this.
How did you hear about the job? Was it something that you knew about coming into because you applied the summer before you were enrolled as a student?
Correct. One of my dad's good friends worked for the program, and he mentioned it to me, and went and did some research, found the link to apply, and here I am.
And this is something that you want to do as a career after you graduate, or is this just something that you saw as a campus job, fun opportunity to work with the football team?
It's a mix of most of those. Initially, I had thought about becoming a trainer one day, but I'm leaning more towards physician's assisting.
Okay.
We definitely work very closely with the doctors, and that I feel like will definitely help, and it's pretty cool, hanging with the players, especially during practice and whatnot.
Well, talk about some of that. I mean, you're obviously you're hands-on with you're attending practices, and you're getting to, if there's an injury, you'll run out on the field with the team doctors and assess the player and help them off if they need assistance. But talk about that real-world experience that you're able to get as a student. Not only are you you're involved with the football team, but you're part of the staff, you're traveling with them, you really get a whole sense of what it's like to work on a sports team.
Yeah, it's definitely a great experience. We're with the team almost all the time. Monday through Friday, we have to report about 1 o'clock, or as our schedule permits, and we give them tape treatment right before, as instructed by our head athletic trainer, Danny Poole, and the associate athletic trainers, Abby DeDecker and Scott Crothers. They really kind of lead us as far in those aspects. Logistics-wise, traveling is a big thing, of course, especially as we move up in the hierarchy that we have. It's a pretty great experience being with all the intangibles that are involved with the program, being with the players all the time.
Well, you talked about that hierarchy. How important is it at practice and traveling and just being a part of this? How important is it to have that structure to know who's got what responsibility? I mean, do y'all share the same responsibilities? Do you have certain roles that you fill, or is it swapped around?
Oh, yeah. The responsibilities do increase the further you go along in the program. The higher you are, as far as if you're an upperclassman, you're expected to take on more responsibilities. For example, as freshmen, we're not expected to travel to hardly any away games. But once you hit that upperclassman status, right about your junior year, you start to travel a lot more. Especially this year, I've traveled to every away game this season. So
what's that like? I mean, I know that's got to be not only a huge time commitment just to get there, but also a strain on your class load.
Oh, definitely. I mean, going on the plane and reading textbooks is certainly
not a bad view though.
Yeah, not a bad view.
Not a bad view for a classroom.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it does take a lot of social activities from the weekends. But we'll either bus or we'll plane, depending on the distance of the location of the away site, and we get our job done, and if we have time, we'll explore the area, and if we even have more time, we'll get some homework done.
There you go.
Squeeze it in as much as you can.
Absolutely.
As regular students, sometimes it's difficult to set aside 3 hours just to watch the game on TV, whereas you've got students that have spent 2, 3, sometimes 4 days traveling, and then they got to get home. And if like coming home from Syracuse this past year with the loss, I'm sure that was a long plane flight home.
It was a couple of hours long. So
at least you're in the same time zone. Because I mean, Clemson travels, but they usually travel within the Eastern time zone, so they're not going to Texas or beyond that. So they're not having to deal.
Next season though, we'll be out at A&M.
You'll probably be traveling out there with the team
for sure.
So that'll be exciting.
And you said you're pretty sleep deprived now. Is there really any off season for y'all? Do you guys get any break, whatsoever?
Well, depending on how successful the season goes, is ultimately contingent upon how long the break we get. It's roughly January is usually the month that we usually get a break. The players, of course, still work out during this time, but no practice. But right around when February rolls around, that's when mat drills start. That's when the 15 practice allotment for spring practice.
Well, let's talk about mat drills. Obviously people see the posts that Clemson's put out on social media. Clemson football's put on social media, but Let's go through a day in the life of you as a student trainer with a mat drill. I mean, when are you getting up? What are you doing during the drill? Like all of that.
My goodness. Well, the past couple, or I think it was the past 4, we had to be at the facility around 4:45-ish in the morning.
A.M.
Yeah, 4:45 a.m.
Yes. So a lot of 5-hour
And those are
energy
during
shots.
the week. Those are during the week.
During the week.
Yeah.
During the week.
So before your classes have even started.
For sure. And we're there. We're setting up all the water equipment that we have, any medicine that may be needed for it. It's a very physically strenuous on the player. So we always try to make sure that they have what they need to maintain optimum performance, so to speak.
So you're there, you're helping out with mat drills, and then about what time are you dismissed to? I mean, because you can't go back home and take a nap. You've got classes that entire day.
Correct. Yeah. So afterwards, they'll have treatment afterwards, and we will be in attendance for that and assess whatever they need as far as treatment goes. And we'll get the go sign from our bosses, and after that, if we have 8 a.m.s, we'll get to leave after a certain point. But if we don't, we have to stay for a decent time.
Okay, so you're there until a few hours. I mean, would you get out of there before noon? Hopefully?
Oh, before noon. Yeah, definitely.
But if you've got morning classes, they recognize that you need to probably go and at least eat breakfast.
Absolutely. Yeah. Most of our classes are scheduled before 1 o'clock. We get that priority scheduling so that we can actually work the practices.
But that means by the time that it's noon, most people have had 1 to 2 classes. You've had an 8 to 9 hour day.
Exactly.
So when it's 7 o'clock at night, when we're eating dips, you're trying to go to sleep.
So asking you to come on an 8 o'clock show might have been a little bit of a stretch.
You've been up for a while. So that's what I think a lot of people don't take into account is just the sheer number of hours that are put in during the off season and the amount of work that's done during the off season. It's not just the travel and the work on the game days. It's showing up 4:45 to mat drills and all of those other moments that really are not that documented. That is required in order to have a successful season.
For sure.
So that is interesting. I guess and you've touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the challenges or some of the sacrifices that you had to make in order to keep the position of student trainer? I mean, obviously, you're involved heavily over there at Clemson football, but have there been other things that you wish you would have been able to do or could have done?
Yeah, the big challenge that I think that resonates with most of my coworkers is time management, specifically. There will be times where we'll get behind, and fortunately our bosses prioritize academics over work. And so if we ever get behind in class, we talk to them and we make adjustments as needed academically. But as far as extracurriculars go and having time for that, there's certainly ways around it. It's very doable. I'm still able to do intramurals. We had a coworker last year who was part of sorority and another one who was heavily part of FCA. So it may be seemingly impossible to the common person to have anything to do outside of football, but it's definitely
well.
doable.
I mean, we see that with Josh.
Oh, he makes time to get over here.
The GM here, and he's a manager, and from what I've heard, because I worked video staff last spring. Obviously, you're trainer, and then Josh is manager, and I've heard that the managers usually are there longer than anybody else.
Yeah, they're the latest.
They're doing
sure.
everything. So that is, like you say, I mean, it does teach you time management. but also, you're given such an incredible opportunity and real world experience, and while you're still a student, that it's a hard job or a hard thing to pass up.
But it makes it worth it, though.
Yeah,
and you get to be surrounded by all the athletes. And speaking of the athletes, what is your kind of relationship with the guys that you're working on? I mean, is it strictly professional, or do you guys get to like interact with them a lot?
You got to goof off. I mean, if it's 4:45 in the morning, somebody's got to be cracking jokes.
I'm sure Christian Wilkins says something every morning.
Oh,
right?
yeah, they get slap happy. I mean, so do we. Like, we try to goof up, especially like in times like that. And we spend a lot of time with each other. So it's kind of hard not to develop a relationship with them. So, but whenever we do goof around, but when it's time to be professional, it's time, we're professional. But yeah, it's really cool being close to some of the guys. I'm particularly part of offense, the offensive side. So I know them better than the defensive side. And
is that something that you choose when you first come in, or is that something that your boss assigns you to, or how does that process usually work?
Yeah, so coming in, especially when I came in, they gave me a choice on what position I wanted to choose, depending on who was graduating and who wasn't. We only have, I think, 15 student trainers now.
Only 15.
Okay. Only 15.
Only
yeah,
15. But again,
but I mean, for a big staff like that.
When I worked on the video staff, there was almost 20 of us, and it was just amazing how many people it takes to run that operation. Yeah, 15. So that's a lot. I feel like that's a lot.
Yeah, but they let me choose what position. I had the option between O-line or running backs, and I chose running backs.
So do you ever feel like you wish you chose defense, or is that just something that you like the running back position? You felt like, hey, go with that.
Yeah, I really like the running back position.
Because I know that obviously when practice, at least in the spring, I'm not sure, I wasn't around for fall practice, but in the spring the positions will break up and do individual drills.
Right.
And the managers are usually the ones running the drills.
Yeah.
Video students are videoing the drills, and then y'all are there in case they need anything. So, what, I guess, are some of the, without getting into the specifics of what the drills are, what's the differences between what the running backs are doing versus what the D-line may be doing?
So the running backs primarily focus on ball security and footwork. Heavy emphasis on footwork and speed.
Yeah.
And every now and then they'll do a lot of contact and accelerating through the contact drills. Now, as far as defense go, I'm not really on that side, but they have some pretty interesting dynamic drills as far as tackling go. So I'll glance every now and then, and if you saw what I saw,
I'm sure they're hitting a lot of football dummies a lot.
Yes, I would be afraid to be hit by those guys.
At the baseball game, I saw Dexter Lawrence just walking over, and I was already intimidated from the stands. Yeah.
Big guy. Nice guy, though.
Oh, yeah.
Big guy.
He's a child at heart.
Yeah, we talked about the D-line and some of their personalities, how they're really down-to-earth guys.
For sure.
And that's, something that you don't see a lot of times at a very successful program, but it's something that's definitely, it seems to resonate not only with players but also staff. Everybody that I know who work there full time, they really enjoy their job and like going into work every day.
Yeah.
I think that's a sentiment that's echoed, by almost everybody who's involved with the program. So that says a lot. I guess if you had to pick favorite moment, favorite memory, something, I'm sure you have memories of road trips. There's got to be one or two, whether
especially
it's the
late
Super Bowl
season
this
road
year,
trips,
New Orleans, or going up. There's got to be something.
Yeah. I kind of have a tie between the two. I guess the one that is probably synonymous with any Tiger fan is, of course, winning the national championship.
Yeah.
Or the
pick.
Yeah, the national championship parade that we had.
Okay. Yeah.
That was actually the first time I ever got to run down the hill.
Really? Oh wow.
Because all the players and support staff got to run down the hill and sit in front of the stage where they presented the trophy.
Now, did you try and jump and get some air, or were you kind of cautious running down the hill?
Yes, I did.
As a sports trainer, I'm sure you were a little cautious.
I felt fairly confident in my athleticism. However, that confidence was misplaced, and I almost tweaked my ankle. So,
and these guys go down in full pads when they do it. So it's a tall order.
I don't know how they do it. It's insane.
A lot of adrenaline. That's for sure.
Absolutely,
They're taking that hill, and you see Dabo. He is
moving.
midfield before the rest of the team has even made it to the base of the hill.
He takes out a few
sometimes.
cheerleaders on the way down.
Yeah, he's beating the Tiger. It's impressive how fast he can sprint across that field.
Yes, the speed of 1,000 wins.
So you'd go with the championship game and the parade. No road trip stories. There's got to be a road trip story.
I will have to say the Sugar Bowl that we had.
We got to keep it PG now.
This is
Nothing on
probably
Bourbon Street.
This is probably
No Bourbon Street.
pre-game, not post-game.
Oh,
I would say, right?
Yeah. So we were actually heading towards Bourbon Street just to see how it is.
Oh, it's a sight to behold.
Yeah, for sure. And I really had to use the bathroom. And so I'm sitting there and I'm going systematically through different restaurants, and they all need a passcode. And you had to order something and get a passcode. And
Buy something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wasn't hungry at the time. And so we bumped into a couple of players there, a couple of our players. And I think it was Trey Lamar and Travis Etienne. And they were like, you can try this hotel. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. I go in there, I use the bathroom, relieve myself. I step out, and all I see is Crimson Tide colors.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, there's a oversaturation of Alabama fans in here. And next thing you know, I see the elevator open. The whole football team's coming out. And I'm like, I'm in hostile territory.
Oh, my gosh.
Were you wearing anything Clemson? Was there anything orange?
No, fortunately, I was wearing burgundy, so I fit right in.
Yeah, you're fine, yeah.
Smart
I thought you were going to say the Saban just walked out and passed you in the bathroom.
Saban.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do if Damon came out. Ask for an autograph or.
I know that the Clemson players were, I think, at the Marriott.
You were there.
I
you're
think
asking
it
the
was
wrong
a
person.
Marriott that the Clemson team was put in. I wasn't exactly sure. I never could figure out where they had Alabama. I would just see the motorcade go by, and they'd stop traffic for them. But going to New Orleans, I obviously went for Tiger Vision, and it was an awesome trip. Wish the outcome of the game would have been different, but still, really a cool experience and something that as a student, it was awesome to be able to go, especially for the team, because y'all were down there for almost a week. Right? Y'all practiced at Tulane leading up till the game. What was that like, practicing at another school's facility?
It was very interesting. Like, we definitely had to get used to the new environment and set everything up with materials that we never used, but that they supplied. So we made sure we had all of our what we call bubblers that hold all of our water, and we brought all of our stuff out. We brought all of our med kits, all of our taping supplies, and it was very interesting. Pretty nice stadium for, I think it's a D2, if I'm.
They're lower D1.
Yeah,
lower D1. Okay.
Conference USA, I think. Yeah.
It was pretty nice facility that they had, and the operations that were running it, super nice, very cooperative.
Well, we had this past fall, I believe, when Charleston was underwater, we had the Citadel here.
That's right.
For a week, I think.
Oh yeah, that's
They did
right.
practice here for a bit, yeah.
So now, how? I mean, does that affect y'all's schedule, or did they coordinate that with the Citadel to make sure that there was no conflict? I mean, were you there for the Citadel practices, or were y'all not required? to show?
No, we were. I think they provided their own staff whenever they came. So basically, from my understanding, they worked around our practice. So like they practiced before we did, and used their own supplies. We didn't help with really anything as far as the sports medicine aspect goes. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was offered, but they felt like they had adequate supplies.
Yeah, I just remember seeing their like I said, the team was practicing inside the indoor, and they had their buses outside. I was like, oh, sick. I mean, I believe that Charleston was, although it didn't take much for Charleston to flood, that was the reason that they were up, and so they were practicing at our facility for that week. So that was
Big upgrade for the Citadel, that's for sure.
no
doubt about it. Yeah.
It was nice. So I guess one last question that we want to hit on, unless Bradley has any others after this one. Just
You got it, man.
What's your takeaway from your time as a student trainer with Clemson football? I mean, is this, obviously is a career you plan to continue after graduation, or is it just something that you'll look back at 40 years from now and, the 4 years in college that you spent as a student trainer?
It'll definitely be a nostalgic experience after I graduate. I have to say, being with the team and seeing, the players and staff alike grind in their own regard, it's truly inspiring, and I think it's really instilled a pretty formidable work ethic in me, and I do plan to take all the experiences I've had hands-on wise, all the shadowing experiences that I've gotten, on the medicine part, of the spectrum and bring it with me
Take
in
it
my career.
with you, afterwards.
And hopefully I get some pretty good references from the doctors. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, if especially you said as an upperclassman, you take on more and more responsibility. I think as long as you show that you're competent and able to fulfill your requirements, it really says a lot. And then the fact that you're able to juggle that job, and then schoolwork, and also participate in extracurricular activities beyond football. I know you're not playing flag football intramurals, are you? You got to be picking a different sport.
Yeah, no, I'm sticking with soccer. I'm sticking with what I'm good at.
There you go.
There you go.
But yeah, I think that really says a lot, and I have a great amount of respect for kids who are able to balance all that. It really says a lot. But I appreciate you coming on, man. It was a lot of fun
it was a
talking
pleasure.
with you, getting some insider perspective on working with the football team.
Yeah, thank you for letting me be here and talk about my experiences with the football team.
All right, good
Well,
deal.
that's pretty much it for tonight's show. It's a little bit shorter than normal. We should be back next Friday for another show with Evan. I know everybody looks forward to
He's
shows with
been
Evan.
anxious to come back.
Yeah, I can imagine. But for Austin, Bradley, and myself, it's been a lot of fun bringing this one to you, and this has been After Further Review.